In narcissistic relationships, there can be too much emotional closeness. They fuse with you emotionally and psychically. They're not able to emotionally contain themselves, and maybe we don't either. So they'll consider it normal to just emotionally vent anything that comes up for them at any random moment. They have no emotional control. They're at the mercy of their emotions, which are predominantly negative ones. So, in that regard, there's too much emotional closeness. We've seen and heard too much of what they can't bear emotionally. Or perhaps if they're not as explosive, they instead suppress a lot of emotional intensity, and we sense it because they express it indirectly and passive aggressively. There's a lot of confusion between intimacy and intensity. So we go on to presume all of that in our adult relationships, that it's normal to be engulfed in this highly volatile, potentially explosive, or slowly simmering emotional stew. No wonder we have a fear of intimacy, because for most of us, intimacy means enmeshment, total control, always orbiting around some emotional drama that's unfolding or about to unfold. Narcissists can't deal with you wanting to think for yourself. They want to control your thinking, what you think about, and that it's just what they tell you. If you're not like them, it's a threat. You can only be an object to a narcissist. They give you a script to follow, and don't you dare deviate from that script. Otherwise, there'll be an attack, a humiliation, or a tantrum. Therefore, you cannot individuate from them. You cannot separate. And this includes grown adults still feeling obligated to remain close with their mothers. Even though they want to live their own lives, they are enmeshed, guilt-tripped into remaining in fusion with their narcissistic mother. In that regard, they have hijacked your life, your choices, basically who you are and who you're meant to be. And depending on how aware you are about this, you will continue to feel crazy, confused, guilty, or angry. When you're fused with your narcissistic mother, you can't tell whether what you want is what you want. It's so blurry. You're constantly running it through the filter of what would make her happy or upset. All life choices are about pleasing or displeasing her. It feels like there's no you. It's all about her. The person you want to date, the career you'd like to start, the place you'd like to live, the country you'd like to move to, what you should be eating, what color the walls in your living room should be. Everything automatically is screened in your mind, and it revolves around approval or disapproval, not about your happiness, because you can't be happy unless she's happy. And she's not happy if you don't ask her first. It's exhausting and siphons too much of your mental and emotional energy. Her presence psychically is overbearing, no matter if she's still in your life or if she's passed on. It takes tremendous effort to separate yourself, and it may never happen, and you'll feel controlled and tortured by this tyrannical fantasy figure in your mind. When you're fused with your mother, it's a particularly strong bond. It's meant to be healthy, but with a narcissistic mother, it's not, because the fusion is at your expense. It only serves her. It becomes quite parasitic, and that's why you feel drained. She has no interest or regard in you or what you want. It's implied directly or indirectly that you are here to make her happy, and you owe her. And by clarifying this toxic dynamic, I hope you can recognize how or if this relationship still influences you, so you can start to set yourself free mentally and emotionally. You wanting to be your own person is not a fault. Well, in her eyes, it is. But you wanting to be a separate being is your right. And this enmeshment that she propagates is stifling your development. I was fused with my mother in a different way. It was much more covert, but still just as controlling. And it was detrimental to me figuring out who I was. Of course, enmeshment also occurs in dysfunctional families, where everything and everyone is under tight control. You can't feel at ease, but it feels like you're always being scrutinized. When we're fused like this, in a group or with your narcissistic mother, Things become very blurry and confusing, and it can cause us to feel extremely anxious. And the more that you're enmeshed with someone, the stronger the emotional bond. The less likely you're going to even have a sense of self. You won't know who you are, you won't know how you feel, or what you genuinely want. Your own reality and your personal experiences don't exist. Maybe you're still fused with your family and they see you individuating as a threat. They'd prefer you always rely on them. That's why they always threaten you if you do something against the script of the family. And part of growing up means learning how to stand on your own 2 feet and your loved ones trusting that you'll figure it out. In dysfunctional families, the foundation is codependence. They instill a fear in your own ability to forge into the world as an adult. They train you to be dependent on them and secretly or not secretly expect your efforts to fail so you can remain fused with them. It appears to be an inherited pattern that few people question but begrudgingly endure. If you're tolerating enmeshment with your narcissistic mother or your family, you'll feel moody, exhausted, irritable, frustrated, perhaps for no apparent reason. And there are other numerous ways this psychic discomfort shows up, but we often don't have words for it.